Hello. Okay, today we're in chapters 25, 26, and 27 of 1 Samuel, almost finishing 1 Samuel. And today are some interesting stories. One of my favorite stories is the story of David and Abigail and Nabal. The story is very simple. Nabal's a rich man, kind of arrogant. Name is foolish. And Abigail says he's just like his name. He's very foolish. David has been protecting his shepherds and everything out in the field, and now he's getting ready to shear his sheep. And David sends some people and says, if you don't mind, can you provide us with some food? We need some food. David's starting to build up some men. You know, they talked about in the last chapter, he was getting folks from everywhere, kind of the ne'er-do-wells. But he has a fighting force of 600 people now, plus their families. And so he's got quite a few mouths to feed. And so he asked Nabal, can you provide me some food? And Nabal sends back them, who is this guy? Don't you serve your master? Who do I know? I don't know who you are. And he just is arrogant to him and ruthless and says, nope, not going to give you anything. And so David tells his guys, strap on your swords. He says, we're going to go get him. There's not going to be a single man alive in Nabal's family by tonight. So in the meantime, his wife Abigail, who is apparently a very beautiful woman and a very, very smart woman, is told what Nabal has done. And Nabal has done. And so she says quickly, gets a lot of food together, has this big list of things she's going to get together. So she gets all this food together, and he sends the people on ahead to go find David. So while David's coming down from the mountain to go after Nabal, she's getting ready. When she gets on her donkey and she heads off herself after she sent the food. And when she sees David, she gets down on the ground and bows before him. And she has this long soliloquy about who he is and who she is, and reminds him that you should not be the one taking vengeance on yourself. You won't like that. That won't turn out good for you. David appreciates that. He accepts that. He accepts her offer and sends her back. She goes back. That night, Nabal is having a big feast. He's a drunken slob. Gets up the next morning. She explains to him what she has done. And apparently he has a stroke or a heart attack or something like that. And a few days later, he actually dies. So when David hears about that, he sends someone down and says, if it's okay with you, I want you to come back and be my wife. And so she gladly goes back and becomes David's wife. And so that's a long chapter 25. Chapter 26 is another situation where Saul has found out that David's available. He's going to chase him down and still wants to kill him. He keeps telling him he's not going to kill him, but he keeps chasing him. So David gets one guy and he goes down into the camp. And the Lord has put the people around Saul into a deep sleep. So Saul's laying there. Abner, the head of his army, is laying there. There's others laying there. And he and his guy are just having this long conversation with everybody standing around. At the end of it, he takes Saul's water jug, and he takes his spear that was at the head of his bed, and he goes off. When he gets done, he goes across the way, a good ways away, and he starts yelling at them, but he doesn't yell at Saul. He yells at Abner. And he says, Abner, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be taking care of your master, but you didn't take care of your master. People came in, they could have killed your master. And so Abner realizes that, Saul realizes that, and one more time, Saul says, I'm not going to kill you. You're safe. And they separate and go home. The last chapter 27, David is now trying to get away again. Saul is still chasing him. He is still trying to kill him. And so Saul and his men go off into the land of the Philistines, back to Gath, where he was the crazy man before. Now he's back there with a bit of an army and also a bit of a reputation, apparently. And the king allows him to gives him a city, Ziklag, for him to stay in. And then it talks about David going off and really attacking kind of the Philistines' friends rather than their enemies. But he does that in such a way that no one ever finds out. He doesn't leave anybody alive to tell on him. And he does that for about 1.5 years. And that's where we end up. And so tomorrow is going to be a very interesting one. Something Saul does that's really odd in our eyes. It just makes no sense to us. when he goes to see the Witch of Endor. So anyway, enjoy the reading, and we will talk more tomorrow. Have a good evening.